James Lee here. We're based at Uppercut Farm, Showbrook. We farm with my brother Jonathan and father Nick and wider family. We are a traditionally mixed farming enterprise with arable cropping, suckler beef herd, a few sheep in on keep now, and the contracting business as well. We've always been interested in different technologies, particularly on the arable side of things. We've looked at min-till and direct drilling since 2007 and mixed that into our crop rotation to try and keep our soils on the hills rather than washing off. The management of soil is the key to our industry, really. It's what being a farmer is all about. So the Claydon drill has been really great for us since 2007, this being our third machine, British built, and it's the leading time takes any surface compaction out, and then it's followed by the coulter that can sow anything from forage rape, winter oilseed rape, winter wheat, beans, cover crop, anything. We've learnt about its limitations over the years and adapted how the seed placement comes out, and we've also done inter-row sowing of oilseed rape into winter wheat to try and reduce the soil movement. Our more challenging headlands and small field margins and more trickier parts of the fields are yielding better with less disturbance, and our whole crop rotation is yielding really pleasingly. We're growing crops of maize now and oilseed rape, which are yielding well as the wheat and spring barley. This is a crop of oilseed rape we planted on August bank holiday weekend with the Claydon drill just before it turned wet. It's following a crop of winter wheat, and we try and grow oilseed rape once every 4 to 5 years to get a nice wide rotation. In the rotation we grow maize, wheat and spring barley as well. The biggest constraint is our hills. It's the risk of soil erosion is what we're really looking to avoid.
It's really trendy at the moment to talk about regenerative farming. What does that mean to you?
I prefer conservation agriculture as a term. If we're going to have to use a term, I don't particularly like regen farming because I think our forefathers did what they thought was correct, and it's knocking in the face of those guys a little bit. I would say. I find that whole conservation agriculture system, i.e. traditional farming, mixed farming, really fascinating. Getting livestock back onto arable fields and feeding that soil biology and using that as an opportunity to improve our soil nutrition and not have to rely upon fertiliser and other inputs.
Hi, I'm Chris Berry. I farm here in the parish of Ken with my parents in partnership. We farm roughly 450 acres, mostly tenanted and partly owned, tucked underneath the Holden Hill. We are now a livestock farm of just a sheep flock and a suckler cow enterprise. We would have described ourselves as typical mixed farming enterprise. We would have farmed about 100 acres of arable, all of which would have gone to feed the sheep and the cows through the winter, plus the straw would have been used for bedding. Looking at the sums, doing a bit of benchmarking, relying on the single farm payment, that didn't look terribly sustainable for us going forward. So we looked at different ways of increasing profit margins and becoming far more sustainable. So the focus was all on the grass, really, pasture production, how we could grow more grass and grow better quality grass. Being like a shallow sandy soil farm, yes, soil loss is quite a big problem. So the importance of trying to hold on to that soil and increasing organic matter levels on the poorest of the land is only 3%. But you compare that to the organic matter on the permanent pasture is closer to 9%. And it's like, how can you bridge that gap? Mostly it is a cost of production decrease, but we've also seen a small output increase. So as well as reducing fertiliser by 70% and feed no concentrates whatsoever, apart from a little bit to tame lambs and on the odd times that we need it as a sort of management tool. The farm is self-sufficient. Profit margins are a lot greater, but also the output has slightly gone up. On the farm here we've benefited greatly through the summer drought time with deep-rooted plant species and a mixture of species. Not only that, it's been a great quality feed as well as reducing our inputs and fertiliser. So it worked in the summer, and the question was, could it work for us in the winter? Here we've got a mixture of 16 species versus a monocultural brassica. We put down the project between us and the Prince's Countryside Trust, which funds Innovative Farmers Project. So there's 4 farmers based in the southwest who have grown the same mix. This winter we'll be putting weaned cattle onto this crop, half of them in one half and half of them in the other. We'll be weighing to see if there's any benefit on their growth rates. We'll be condition scoring them, we'll be seeing how content they are on it, but a big part of it is how well the soil holds up in the winter. So the idea is, will a diversity mix help hold the soil back? Will it keep the cattle cleaner, and will it be more suitable? For me, soil's playing a more and more important role than I used to think, perhaps. It is the fundamental start of every farming business, essentially. It's what everything grows on. What happens under the ground is far more powerful than what happens above ground, and it's something that I think in the next 10 years I've got to do a lot more to fill in those knowledge gaps that I'm not on really at this moment in time.
My name's Andy Gray. We farm at Copplestone on the red soils, and we also run a meat business. We supply hotels and restaurants across the southwest of England with meat, and we also make dog food, and we do a bit of quarrying as well. My family have been cider makers for 300 years, so we're used to trees in a field, and basically silvopasture is just a posh word for trees in a field. And in the pasture context, I think the main advantage is we're not particularly looking for a benefit from the trees. We're not looking for a big income from biomass or things like that. The main purpose is to improve productivity of our animals, and there's many ways the trees can improve, we believe, the productivity of our livestock. We were fortunate enough to have all our trees and guards and stakes financed by the Woodland Trust, and they do specify that they want to use indigenous species. So pretty well every indigenous species you can think of, through birch, Scots pine, oak, hawthorn, and stuff like alder and elder. The alder is nitrogen fixing, so there's a value there. The willows and things like that. There's benefits for worming, and the high tannin content potentially can suppress methane production. So there's multiple benefits from using these indigenous species. There is also a risk that all these indigenous species might die in 20 years' time if it gets too hot. So personally, I've also planted walnuts and chestnuts because there is a cash crop there, and also they're being sort of more of a Mediterranean species. They might well survive if global warming pans out the way we think it might. If I didn't have my trees financed by somebody else, I would probably plant more cash crop based trees. I quite like the way we've got the alley planting. We're on 14 metre spacings, which gives us 2 6-metre bands, which fits around quite a lot of agricultural machinery. I think that works. We've planted across the prevailing winds, so I think that works. So a lot of what we've done, I believe, is good. We've planted hawthorns around the standard trees, and the purpose of those is to protect the standard trees, and I think that's a good idea. And we've blended in shrub varieties which cattle can eat, as opposed to between the standards. So we've one high tree for shade and one low tree to be actually eaten by the livestock. So there's loads of things we like about what we've done, but this is all a learning experience. You never repeat things exactly as you did them before, because you always learn and adjust and adapt. So we'll see. I'm full of optimism about what we can do, though.